Hey there, everybody. I hope you're able to hear me. We've experienced some technical difficulties with our GoToWebinar partner. I had gotten a few emails already on folks that tried to get on earlier in the presentation. I got on a little early. It sounds like there was quite a few that had issues getting connected, myself included. And so I hope that that's been resolved. I am right now in the process of trying to make sure that you can see my screen. I believe you can, and that would be the PowerPoint presentation that's on my screen. So,
Randy, we can see the presentation.
Right now, we have myself on the call, Randy Johnson, and Susan Carinante is monitoring. If you can hear me, if anybody out there could just throw it in the chat window, give me a thumbs up or some sort of an acknowledgement that you can actually hear me, I would much appreciate it, and then I'll be happy to move forward with the presentation. I am seeing a question. Looks and sounds good. I'm getting some level of acknowledgement that you're able to hear me and you can see my screen. So once again, I apologize. This is the first time that we've had any kind of issue with GoToWebinar as our webinar partner. I'm sure there will be a refund in the works here coming up. Nothing like the stress of your webinar not working right before you get ready to present. It was a reported issue that they had supposedly fixed well before. As you can see, we struggled until just now. So anyhow, thanks for indulging me while I kick off the presentation. We are here to talk about supplier enablement, and this is a PeopleSoft presentation. So best practices in deploying the PeopleSoft supplier portal in the PeopleSoft system. The agenda today, I'm going to talk about SpearMC. I always do. It's one of my favorite topics. Then we'll talk about this PeopleSoft supplier portal. I have in parentheses portals. We're going to learn the difference between the public portal and the secure portal, and how you might deploy those, perhaps even in phases, as several of our customers have done before. I want to talk about which modules are enhanced by having some supplier enablement function, and then show you the functions. We'll walk through them. I'll talk about them, and I'll talk about what our partners, what our customers have done, some experiences that we've had. And then if there's time, I will give you a brief live product demonstration. Cross your fingers on that one. It's not a recorded video, so we'll be out on a live system showing you some of the features of the supplier, both portals actually, the public and the secure portal. Okay, so that's the agenda. Hopefully that works for everyone. I didn't have time to put some poll questions out there. I was going to ask all of you, how many of you have any plans to open up the supplier portals and enable some interaction through PeopleSoft. I'm curious, if you get a chance, just drop something in chat or in the questions and let us know if you're interested at some point in deploying the supplier portal. Also curious if anybody out there has already done so, and if you have, just let us know, and I may even open up your microphone and let you give us some of your experiences if time allows at the end of the session. So without further ado, I'm going to talk about SpearMC, which is my favorite topic. In fact, my very favorite slide of all slides is this one, because I get to talk about myself. I do want to point out that this really is me, that the email that you see there will get to me directly, that phone number is my phone number, and it will reach me directly. Let me just give you a little bit of a warning. If you call me on that phone number, you're probably going to go to voicemail first. Unless I have you already listed in my contacts, I typically ignore inbound phone calls. So if you are calling me for any reason other than extending my car warranty, I have a 2008 Chevy Cobalt. Now, I don't even think they make that anymore. I'm not interested in extending my warranty, so don't bother with those calls. If you have a call about anything that you want to talk about, I would love to hear from you. As soon as I get a voicemail, I'll know it's real. I'll add you to my contacts list and we can connect forevermore. The other option, of course, is that email there. So feel free to reach out to me in any capacity. I will be happy to connect with you and answer any questions you might have, which hopefully would be, how do we hire SpearMC to do all the things you're talking about? If you've never been in a SpearMC presentation before, then I guess the one thing I want to leave you with is that SpearMC continues to be all in on our PeopleSoft expertise. Everything we've ever done has resonated from PeopleSoft since the beginnings when Marcus Bodie founded us. And we started, believe it or not, down here in the corner in learning services. We did some training. Training led to staff augmentation. Staff augmentation led to full-blown consulting services. Consulting services led to, hey, stick around and help us support and manage services. As we continued in that path, we grew in our cloud support being PeopleSoft on the cloud, so Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. In fact, when I do my live demo, it will be on the SpearMC environment in OCI. We, because of our expertise, have migrated towards all of the emerging technologies and services, all as an Oracle platform, but really based again on our PeopleSoft expertise. Mentioned learning services is one of the things as we come full circle now that I'm super excited about. I get maybe unnaturally excited about this slide. I don't know. It's a great slide because, well, we do things all PeopleSoft, right? And one of the most recent things that we're doing is Oracle Guided Learning. It's not a PeopleSoft product, but we built it so that it works on the PeopleSoft platform. And Oracle Guided Learning is not just learning, it is guided processing. It is a step-by-step guide of anything you want to do. The beauty is, because of our expertise, we built a starter kit, big ones for 3 platforms, HCM, financials, and campus solutions. If you have any questions about that, reach out to me. I'll connect you with Cameron McClurg. He's directing that entire practice, getting a lot of activity around that particular product. And then some things that we've done that we're very, very proud of, some proprietary products that we built to augment the PeopleSoft products. PeopleSoft Test Framework has been around for a while. Not a lot of people know about it. We love it because we can use that to now do some managed services, do some testing for you. We call it testing as a service, and keep you current. The best thing about PeopleSoft is that there's still all kinds of awesome features rolling out all the time. And if you're not staying current, you're not able to take advantage. You might not even know about those new features and functions. And so we love the idea of automated testing as a service, as a means to keep you current so that you can stay on your PeopleSoft investment, keep that platform going, and start to take advantage of all the cool things like Supplier Portal that are available to you. All right. What else do I say about SpearMC? Here is where we are in the various offices. We have specializations. You can see Oracle, 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 PeopleSoft all over the place. Because we are managed, we are SOC 2 Type 2 certified, continue to do that. And we've been recognized 2 years in a row now by Gartner for the work that we do, managing our customers and moving them to the OCI platform. Okay, so you didn't come just to hear about SpearMC. I appreciate you listening. Let's talk about the Supplier Portal. And as I mentioned, there's two. So when we look at the supplier portal in PeopleSoft, first of all, if you own accounts payable or if you own purchasing, you own the portal, okay? There are certain things you can and can't do with just the portal, but just understand the portal isn't by itself a separate module. It is a function within PeopleSoft that's delivered. And the way that Oracle has delivered it in PeopleSoft, there are two portals. There's a public portal and a secure portal. And as the names would suggest, the public portal is intended to be exposed for just your casual user who might be interested in becoming a business partner with your organization. Gives them some information, allows them to, it's probably not pre-registered, allows them to submit a registration asking if they can become partners with you in some capacity. I'll get into the details here in a slide or two. The secure portal then assumes that there's been a process through which the registration or the request has been approved. And now we have users that have access to the system. So they literally are logging on through the public portal into the secure portal. And it's the secure portal that provides a lot of the benefits and access that I'm going to be talking about today. What I will tell you is a lot of our customers are starting just with the public portal. They're starting with the registration, dipping the toes in and getting the registration going as a means to take some of that work effort off of the teams that are responsible for entering all of the data when you have new suppliers added into the PeopleSoft ecosystem. And so we do see that as a phased approach, and it has been effective for us to deploy that in many situations. The secure portal, once we have that, we need to know how are we handling that. Both portals will typically sit, and I'm not an administrator or an architect, a network architect, but what I know are some of the terms like firewall and sitting inside or outside of the firewall. And these portals can sit outside of the firewall for access, where the public portal might sit outside and the private portal inside. When you do invoke the secure portal, we suggest that you at least do some level of multi-factor authentication, right? So there's issues around that. We've dealt with those with PeopleSoft and having to come up with a couple of third-party support for what MFA tool you happen to use. It could be Duo or some type of multi-factor authentication, but also the firewall issue and invoking that MFA can be problematic in PeopleSoft. We've worked with partners like PathLock to solve those problems in the past, but we do suggest that when you have the secure portal, that you have multi-factor authentication turned on. These will be users in the PeopleSoft system. They'll be set up with user IDs, their profiles, and their permission lists, granting them only access to the portal, the supplier portal, and any activities that you deemed appropriate for those users. So there's some user maintenance that happens along with opening up the secure portal, okay? Yeah, I think that's maybe all I'm going to talk about on this slide, and we can show you what some of them look like. I'll take a drink of water here as I pause, and I believe we have Susan monitoring any questions or chats. So if you have any and you want to throw them out there, let her know, and we'll be glad to get those asked and answered throughout the presentation. Okay.
Yes, Randy, are you able to hear
Public
me?
portal. What can you do here? Well, so if you think about it, this is just a push primarily. We can allow the user registration. We can turn that on and make it somewhat interactive. But without the, well, I'll get to the modules here in a minute. The push is really announcements, frequently asked questions. If you have public events, and I'm not talking about public events that are strategic sourcing, okay? That's a different event that we'd be talking about. That would be a public bidding event. But just your events calendar, if you have maybe you're having a reverse vendor trade show or some function that makes sense. These are the kinds of things you're going to put on the public portal. And it might be you have a link on your website that says visit our supplier portal, and you bring it straight here. Or it could be that, and that would be what we call true public access, right? Anybody that has access to that link can click it and they get to this page, the public homepage for suppliers up in the supplier portal. Or we can decide, you know what, we're going to mask this, and we're only going to let suppliers see this page by invitation only, okay? Typically, that's what you would do if you wanted to start inviting suppliers for self-registration, okay? And there's a process that you go through to set up what that invitation looks like and who gets that invitation. That's all delivered PeopleSoft functionality. And so if it's invitation only, essentially what you have is an unpublished URL somewhere outside of your firewall that when those invited users are able to click it from their menu or from the email that they receive, they'll open up to this particular page. The secure portal, so secure portal, now up here you can see we're on the secure homepage. This is where you require a user ID and password to log in. So you have that level of security from a PeopleSoft perspective. It would be the same password rules that you have for employees would apply to your supplier users. The supplier users, by the way, will be generated initially. There will be one when you do the supplier registration. One of the required steps is to indicate who it is within the supplier is going to be the main contact to manage the supplier relationship. That supplier will be sent a link and a temporary password. They'll log on, they'll do the change passwords, and at that point forward, they'll maintain themselves and be able to request additional users through the secure portal. I'll show you that, I think, if there's time in the demo. This is where you get much more of the true self-service functionality. So on the public portal, what we were getting is notifications and blasts and an opportunity to register yourself, okay? This is critical. This is about the only real self-service function on the public portal. Everything in the secure portal is true self-service, okay? The consideration I talked about, there is no way, I'm talking by myself, security and access. So what is it that you want to do? And very commonly, what we do is we roll these features out in waves. And you can provide different permission lists and different roles, just like you do for your employee user community. So when you set up your supplier users, you determine what types of roles they need, and that would drive which tiles and which pages they have access to in the PeopleSoft secure supplier portal, okay? All right, so some design effort around roles, permission lists, and exactly how you're going to promote those to the user community once you open it up. So that's a high-level overview of the portals. What modules are there that get enhanced with the supplier enablement? Well, let's take a look. Supplier master data, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Randy, that's not a module. Your title says modules enhanced, and I agree. I know you guys are smarter than me, but I know this one. This is master data, okay? And it applies to every module that we're talking about here. But I do want to call out that there's a module specific to enabling the portal and allowing your suppliers to do self-service to do user maintenance, user request, and supplier management requests. And that module is called the eSupplier connection. That's a separate sold module in PeopleSoft. You have the supplier portal. Without eSupplier connection, there's not much you can do with self-service. You can look at a few things like invoice lookup, and we'll see that in a bit. But by and large, you can't really manage your supplier users as a supplier administrator without the eSupplier connection, okay? Supplier master data, though, with eSupplier connection and with supplier registration, that now we can start to push on the suppliers and take that workload off of whoever in your organization is doing that. It might be accounts payable, it might be purchasing, you might have a supplier master data. It might be large enough to have a separate group that just does supplier master data management. However, and whoever is doing that will benefit through the eSupplier connection and the supplier registration by pushing that work out to the supplier. Accounts payable is enhanced through the supplier enablement. One reason that module is enhanced is the users of the module, those folks that are receiving the brunt of the supplier calls, can direct suppliers to the inquiry screens, and maybe even those calls don't make it all the way into AP in the first place, asking about the status of a particular invoice. Has it been matched? Is it even received? Is it scheduled for payment? These are all things in AP that the supplier, once they have access, is going to be able to answer for themselves. The same goes for purchasing, with some additional features and functions that we'll talk about, where they can review purchase orders, even acknowledge them, and provide advanced shipping notifications. E-settlements is a module that is sometimes called voucher self-service. So this module is more than just the ability to enter and upload accounts payable invoices. We'll show you what that looks like in a bit. But as you can see, if we start to enable things like self-service invoice entry or invoice upload, we start to offload a lot of the painstaking manual task work that happens within the accounts payable department. Strategic sourcing is something that is generally implemented after a lot of the other PeopleSoft modules are in place. If you've implemented it, you understand the phasing effort that goes into it. Strategic sourcing is the term, the module for when you do RFPs and RFQs through PeopleSoft. And you may have implemented this without Supplier Portal. Many organizations have. And it allows you to produce all of those events and send them out for suppliers to respond to. With Supplier Portal, we're able to really enhance the strategic sourcing module by publishing the event, and for bidders, they're able to log in and actually post their RFP responses, whether it's a quote or a proposal that you've defined, making it far more streamlined for the evaluation teams in probably purchasing and other parts of the organization to evaluate the event and eventually select a winner. As a participant, I am able to, as a supplier or as a bidder, I'm able to log in and see the status and see which events I am a good fit for that I maybe haven't seen yet, and which ones I've already responded to, which ones I've been awarded, and I can accept the award right there in the strategic sourcing module if we've invoked the secure supplier portal. And lastly, one of my favorites, I think they're all my favorite, is supplier contract management. This is one that several of our customers are implementing now. It's one of the newest modules available in the supply chain suite in PeopleSoft. This is contract authoring, so supplier contract authoring, not to be confused with procurement contracts, which has been around for a while. supplier contract management actually is the legal document that you can create through your many steps of implementation, your clause library, your users requesting a contract style and type, going through the wizards and creating this document. Once that happens, we can involve our suppliers in the redlining process, right? The negotiation where we share our suggested changes and they share theirs can all be done through the portal in supplier contract management. And I'll hopefully show you a little bit of that. I don't think I'll be able to get into tremendous details, but you'll see how that can benefit rather than just sending everything back and forth in email, hoping that we have the latest version and all of the red lines that others have provided. We believe that there's tremendous benefit in opening up the secure supplier portal when you are deploying supplier contract management. Okay, so those are the modules. And again, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Randy, isn't that every supplier contract SCM module that PeopleSoft offers? And I'm going to say, yes, it is, because every time you are interacting with a supplier, if you have the ability to enable self-service with that supplier, awesome. I will give you a little bit of, we're going to be working with Oracle. No, I shouldn't say that. We want to work with Oracle. And we want to put out on the idea space the idea of, if anybody has deployed the Match Exception Collaboration Center, our goal is to have match exceptions that are supplier problems. We want them to be a part of the match exception collaboration resolution. Right now, you'll see that's through e-settlements and disputes. What we want is the ability for the match exception collaboration to automatically generate any disputes that are supplier driven. In other words, you gave us a price that was different than the PO, and we need you to send us a credit so that they can see that immediately. That resolution falls off of the plate of a poor purchasing or accounts payable resource who's inundated with their own tasks and moves on to the appropriate party, which would be the supplier. So that's not there yet, but that is one of the goals with the Collaboration Center. Now that is working, we're going to try to get that functioning near term. So stay tuned on that. Okay, so yes, PeopleSoft modules that are enhanced. I might as well say general ledger, right? I don't know. What are the functions that are available? This is probably half an hour into my presentation why you tuned in the first place. Let's see how many people are out there and paying attention. Can I even tell? Yeah, I'm not going to waste my, oh, there you are, 49 of you. I can tell when you're not paying attention. Yeah, oh, look at all of you flip your screens back on. This is great. All right, here goes. What function are available? User registration, I talked about this. So user registration is, in my opinion, one of the best features that you can roll out. And I didn't even mention this, and I should have. You can turn this on internally as well. You don't have to limit yourself just to suppliers doing their own registration. So if you're not yet quite ready to dip your toes into opening up a supplier portal, but you really like the idea of end users having to fill out a form, it's an activity guide, and answer all of the questions when a new supplier is being requested to be added in the system, you can turn that on for employees as well. In fact, the template can be slightly different for internal users versus external users. And so even that, I'm guessing, like most organizations, your initiation requests for new suppliers often come from employees internally. And so if we can push that work out to them, then we can take some of that repetitive manual task off of the AP, the purchasing team, the team that is responsible for managing suppliers, and get them focused on evaluating whether the supplier is someone we even want to bring in to the organization rather than the manual tasks. So these are activity guides that are delivered by Oracle. They work. By the way, the activity guide ends with a component interface. So it goes through approval workflow. And at the end of approval workflow, there's a component interface that takes all of the data and creates the supplier for us. So no duplicate entry. And the beauty is once you start using this registration, all of the supplier registration questions now stay with the supplier record for the rest of for as long as that supplier is going to be in the system. So that's really useful for whatever types of questions you have when you're evaluating. Highly flexible, the types of questions and number of questions that you can add as required to be answered in the user registration. So there's 3 types of registrations, technically 5, but you can ask to be a bidder, okay? So if you've deployed strategic sourcing, there's a difference between a bidder and a supplier. A supplier might be allowed to bid on your RFPs because they're already an approved supplier in your system. But if they're not, and they know they want to bid, or if you know of a supplier that you want to bid on an RFP in strategic sourcing, then you can send them an invitation to register as a bidder. So one of the options, bidder registration, it's very similar to supplier registration, importantly so, because at the end, if I am a bidder who is awarded a contract in the RFP in strategic sourcing, then there's a process to simply elevate me to supplier status. In other words, take all of my data that is on the bidder tables and elevate me to supplier status. So that's bidder. Supplier is I want to become a supplier, okay? I want to go straight to supplier, straight from I'm not in the system. So we can do that too. And you may choose to do that rather than set up bidders and promote them. It's up to you. These would be new requests, and also once we're in the secure portal, when I log on, I can do change requests. Our address is changing, or we're adding a new lockbox, or a new EFT payment location, whatever it is. So there's 2 different templates that are built and delivered. The request new and change, I'm already a supplier. And then user contacts in the system as well. So for each supplier, you have to have one because someone has to be the administrator who is managing that relationship. And then as the administrator, I can ask for new additional users to be added to that supplier record for access into the secure portal. And then I can change those users as well. I can delete them. I can. Now, I probably should have mentioned that every one of these is a request, and it's only a request until someone internal to your organization evaluates the request and approves it. The AWE is enforced. Approval workflow engine is set up, delivered, and someone has to evaluate and approve every request that's out there. Okay. And you, as a bidder, you don't get elevated to supplier until you are elevated through an RFP process, through strategic sourcing. A direct supplier request, you do become a supplier. So they don't sit in the supplier tables until you do approval. Once they do approval, that component interface runs, and I've got a supplier in the system. Now, you may be thinking, Randy, we do sanctions checking, financial sanctions checking, and that's real time when I enter a supplier in the system. Does that happen on the component interface? The answer is not yet, no. Unfortunately, the financial sanctions check doesn't work directly with the component interface. And so what we've done with our customers that have gone with the supplier registration request and approval process is we run financial sanctions on a nightly basis for all new suppliers that have been added throughout the day. So it's a scheduled batch process. It's not 100% real time, but they'll stay, they will be unapproved until sanctions is run that night. So it takes a night cycle before that supplier is actually open for ordering and approved in the system, assuming they pass the financial sanctions review. Okay, so not quite real time, but there is a way to work around that based on any activity that you've got today being real time when you enter that manually. Of course, doing manual entry is still going to be an option. This is just an option to push the request for registration out to the users that more likely know the answers to the questions that are going to be required. Okay, I'm rambling on, which I tend to do. Security, the public portal, we don't have users going to the public portal. We don't have user IDs or security. This is either a link or through invitation. So just put it outside the firewall for one. It is something that your InfoSec department or whatever their equivalent is going to need to be involved in to make sure that nothing that would break your security rules is being deployed with this new feature. We have had customers bring up the issue of virus scanning. So during the registration process, there is oftentimes with suppliers a requirement to attach certain documents. It might be a W-9 or it might be some other document, a certificate of insurance. And these are attachments, as we all know. And attachments can bring viruses with them. So there is a way in PeopleTools, and I'm not technically savvy. I've got the link here, the PeopleBooks link for enabling virus scanning. Our recommendation is to do this. This doesn't actually use people code to scan the virus. It triggers a virus scanning tool that you already have to subscribe to. So I'm assuming most organizations have a level of virus scanning that they subscribe to. It would be that tool that you would call through the people code that you'll find in this PeopleBooks link. And you would do that on the portal and make sure that all attachments are free from virus before ever moving any of that into the PeopleSoft inside the firewall, into the employee portal pages of PeopleSoft. Okay, so two-factor authentication for the secure portal, can't do it for the public portal. What else is there? Yeah, so on the public portal, we can notify organizations that we have public bidding events. If you do want to do public outcall, notification of events, you simply make them, you flag them as public, which means you don't have to be an approved bidder or supplier on the secure portal to see them. Anyone who has access to the public portal can see them. But be aware, all you can do is see them. You can see them and you can download the event information. Helpful, right? Because the event information can give you instructions on registration for one, and also can give you instructions on, hey, if you want to respond to this, but you're not registered, you can at least provide us this PDF or this XML even of your responses for upload. All right, so it's not interactive, but you can download the event information. The events calendar, I talked about this. This is not the bidding events. This is just anything you want any organization to know about your organization, particularly purchasing organization. It could simply be, hey, we're shutting down for the holidays. Have a good one. It could be, hey, all vendors, our fiscal year end is coming and we really would like to get you to invoice us quickly. I love it when, as a supplier, I'm asked to invoice quickly. And any other public forum. I've seen reverse vendor trade shows that are a hit for organizations out there, particularly public sector, that want to make it very easy for vendors to do business with your organization. So you have literally on-site trade shows. These are the types of events that you would put out there. And then a login, the login to get to the secure portal is out there. Again, multi-factor authentication, highly recommend. Once we get into the secure portal, that's where the excitement comes, right? We've got looking up invoices and payments, invoice inquiry, payment inquiry, dispute resolution. This is e-settlements right now, but this is what I'm talking about. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just say, oh, match exception, purchase order price higher than or lower than the invoice price, boom, vendor, you resolve. It's your problem, you fix it. This is what we're looking for here. So these are inquiry. This is, and that's self-service, by the way. I can see all of my invoices and their statuses and my payments and their statuses. Here, I'm actually interacting with you on plans to resolve the issue. You know what? Let's credit and rebill, or the price went up, you didn't notice on your PO, whatever the resolution may be. Okay. We also, in the invoices and payments dashboard, have the ability to create. So this is e-settlements now, as was the resolution. Upload invoices, that's batch upload, that's file upload. If you have large, long invoices, there is a tool for you to upload those invoices and get them in. PO invoices are in particular can be uploaded, saved, and evaluated, and before we even pass them on to the supplier, to your customer as a supplier, make sure that they are proper and are hopefully matching the purchase order. Self-service invoice, this is like in AP where they go and they create a voucher. You can copy from a purchase order and create vouchers by PO lines, just like we do in AP. And then dynamic discounting, this is e-settlements as well, where, hey, I've got some invoices out there and I'm in a bit of a cash crunch, so I'm going to offer you some discount terms, special discount terms, see if we can maybe expedite payment, and you'll get that. Yep, it's an offer. Hey, we're looking to give you 5% if you pay us within the next 2 days. That's the kind of thing that's out there on the invoices and payments dashboard. Bidding opportunities I've talked about ad nauseum. This is strategic sourcing. This is where you would go in, you'd be able to see which opportunities are out there, respond to the opportunities that you're a fit. It might show up just automatically based on when you registered and you identified your industry code. It might call it out to you and show you. And it might not by initiation. It might also be out there as an event because you've specifically been signaled out as a supplier with an invitation. That word should say based on invitation. So if you got an invitation for this bidding event, we really think you'd be perfect for this. We're looking for 3 bids and we want you to be one of them. You're going to get an invitation. You're going to get an email. You're going to click on it, and that will be one of the events already out there in your inbox waiting to work. Okay. Once we're working these opportunities, we can see and we can submit. We can say, yep, gonna bid on this. I intend to bid. I can work the bid. I can submit it, and then I can start to evaluate the results of my bids. Was I awarded? Did we get rejected? Where are we at in the bidding process? Very useful. Hopefully, getting many of those pesky calls to a minimum. And then I think I mentioned this, my favorite, the contract management. This is supplier contract management. I can see real-time status of where am I at in the business process of contracts. Is it still going through internal review and collaboration? Is it ready now for me to go and do my red lines? Is it signed already? Is it ready for signature? We could see all of that through the managed documents, which is the contract management self-service function in the Secure. On the purchasing side, if I've gotten a purchase order, I can go out and I can do my PO acknowledgements right there in the system. Super easy. I just click acknowledge and it's done. I can create advanced shipping notifications. So if I'm wanting to help out in a big way, I'm doing this. What does this do? This actually helps receiving a great deal. When there's an advanced shipping notice, we're sending them important information, like it might be serial numbers on the things that we're sending, when it's coming. And in PeopleSoft, it creates a template receiver so that the receiving department can pull that up, match it against the actual receipt, and save a lot of keystrokes on their end. So ASN's underused feature, I think, in PeopleSoft. Healthcare is using it through partners like GHX today, but we think it's something that the more casual supplier user would really enjoy if they had an opportunity to, if you gave them that opportunity. All right, so I don't have much time left. I've got product demonstration. I am going to get into PeopleSoft. I'm hoping to show you the PeopleSoft system, what that supplier portal looks like. I will stick to just the secure portal if it's all right. I may show you just a brief walkthrough of a registration request. So let's go ahead and do that. One of my favorite Dilbert cartoons here. I'll give you a chance to read that, and then I'll bounce over to my other screen. All right. Now, you're not supposed to see this screen because I shouldn't have to log in to get to the public portal. So pretend I got a link, everyone. Pretend you just didn't see that last screen. And let me just pause. Is this the screen everyone's seeing? Yes, it is. This is the public homepage, okay? I showed you these screenshots earlier. Let's go into this one, user registration, okay? I want to become a bidder, or I want to become a supplier, or I want to get a user ID for myself as a supplier in the system. Let's go to register as a supplier. I'm not going to step through it because there's a lot of required fields that are required. But what I want you to see is it's an activity guide. I hope by now you've seen activity guides in PeopleSoft. I hope by now you've used them. It requires very little training for your users. And in this case, these are external supplier users that simply have to do what they're told to do each step along the way. And then ultimately, when they get all the way through the questions, they can submit. And when they submit, it will go to an internal user in PeopleSoft tasked with evaluating registration requests and deciding whether or not they're going to approve that request. Okay? So you've got obvious questions like, give me some identifying information, your addresses. In the initial registration, you get up to 3. You get a main, an ordering, and an invoicing, I think. Once you're done, you can do the change request and start adding different addresses. Contacts, required to have one. You got to have one because one person has to be the overall administrator for this supplier, managing things like changing the addresses or adding additional users. My payment information, very useful to have the supplier filling this out so they can put their banking information nice and tidy. Categorization, this is where you get to determine what your, if your NAIC codes or whatever category, whatever your commodity codes are that you're using in PeopleSoft, so that when you do strategic sourcing, you can target it to certain category codes. So that's what categorization is. If you're thinking, what about like minority status and things like that? That's all things that we add in the identifying information step. This step can be quite long, and it can be as short or long as you want. But in most organizations, this is where you're basically doing your vendor qualification questionnaire. And you have the opportunity to ask all of those questions that you may ask. Are you a minority vendor? What is your status? All of those types of things so that you can capture them here as well as use them when you're selecting potential bidders for RFP events. Okay. Now, I'm going to keep moving. I saw a message come up. I'm really hoping you can hear everything I'm saying. I assume you can because there's still 58 of you on the call. So you would step all the way through next, answer all of the questions, and then at the end you would submit. Okay, I'm going to close it because I don't have enough time to step through everything. All right, so now let's, and you frequently asked questions. Public bidding events, this is that public outcry, events calendar, what's going on in the world at our organization. We can see all of these. I can drill into the details there. Yeah, so that's it. Now we're ready to sign in, okay? You saw me sign in. In the real world, I know what you're thinking. Randy, you signed in and you didn't get a multi-factor authentication. Well, I know that. This is demo. We'll have to get over it. In your world, our recommendation is when you click this and this comes up, it's going to direct to another part of your system that is more secure, and they're going to be asked for their duo authentication or whatever it is in Priva or all of the various and sundry options that you have at your disposal. So they would do this. Let's just close our eyes, pretend that that just happened, and I now have access to the secure homepage, okay? There, I just got it. I got my two-factor authentication. It let me in. Here I am. This is where I could start really interacting with PeopleSoft on issues that are specific just to me and my organization, or other users with their security roles can log in. It may be that certain individuals in my organization only have access to the inquiry pages. They can only look up, but they can't enter invoices, okay? Or they can't propose dynamic discounting on any particular open invoices. So it's all security driven, just like you are today in your employee world. This just happens to be supplier users. Every supplier logged on, I am Jay Scott in this one, has security roles and permission lists. And Jay Scott right now is the administrator and has access to all roles and activities in the secure supplier. So if I look at my invoice inquiry, what I'll see is all the invoices that are out there, forgive the dates, I haven't updated my dates, that are either paid or unpaid. I have filters. You all have used PeopleSoft for a really long time. You get how it works. With Oracle Guided Learning that I mentioned at the beginning, we can even give the suppliers little instructions on every page, each click. Hey, do you want to just filter down and see the paid invoices or unpaid invoices? All a perfect use case for Oracle Guided Learning. Call me if interested. Here we go. You could sort, you get it. What do I see here? I see there's 10 actual dialogues that are ongoing specific to certain invoices, okay? So when I'm in an invoice, I can open up a dialogue. I can start talking with my supplier and I can drill into the detail here, or I am the supplier, so I can start inquiries and I can create new inquiries. I can also do that, let's see, out here in my, where are you? Sorry, my invoices and payments, where are you? My messages link. So I can start having dialogue back and forth between me, I'm the supplier, and you, my customer, on exactly what's going on with anything. It could be invoices, it could be purchase orders, it could be I have a late shipment, I gave you an ASN and I need you to back that out. These are all the messages that you can have and converse with the particular user on the other side, which would be you, my customer as a supplier. Okay, self-service invoice, what I can do here is I can see all of the self-service invoices that I've already submitted. I can see their status. So this one looks like it's creating a voucher. This one down here, there's a correction required that needs to happen before we can move it forward in the voucher build process. I can add a new voucher request by a train stop, right? Another activity guide where I add my attachment of the invoice, I give it the details. Here, if I do this, this is where I'm able to copy from a PO and pull in invoice lines just like I can in AP. Now, when I'm done and I hit my submit on this, it's not a voucher in the system. It's just a request to become a voucher. It only becomes a voucher when it's approved and someone in the system on the employee side looks at it, evaluates it, and says, yep, we're going to promote this. You don't have to do all the data entry, but you do get to review and approve before it becomes an actual voucher in the system. All right. Okay. Oh, and if I wanted to add any kind of comment, review the comments, I see that this particular one has one, so I can start to look at that and deal with it. I'm out of time. That was longer than I thought, and I apologize for that, but I hope you got a lot out of it. If you have questions, there may be a few seconds left for questions. Let me see if there's any out there. I don't know how to do that. Susan, I don't know if you are able to hear me and see if there are any questions out there.
I can hear you.
Well, tell you what, because of the snafu, you all have my email address. That was given to you at the beginning. I'll give it to you again. I promise. Here I am. Email me, call me, text me, whatever it takes. I want to answer your questions. I know you have 2 minutes, and I thank you so much. I apologize for the technical difficulties. I hope anyone who was trying to get in eventually did. This will be recorded. We will send out links to the webinar recording to anyone who registered and couldn't participate. And I thank you very, very much for your attention. With that, I give you 1 minute back. Have lunch, enjoy your day, and we'll talk to you soon.